So unless if you've been hiding under a rock and your neighbor's name is Squidward and he loves to play the clarinet, then you probably know that this past week, the Brooklyn Nets finally completed a crazy blockbuster trade for James Harden. And typically in the NBA, once the main superstar player that is the most sought out player to trade after is traded, there's no way that there's any more trade rumors until after the trade deadline, right? Well, no, that's not necessarily how that works. Now that James Harden's traded, there's a new player that every team is targeting, and it's a player that we've talked about in the past. So what's going on, guys? Your boy Mike here, and before we get to the content, I just want to let you guys know that I just got a hold of 4 brand new PlayStation 5 digital editions to give away to you guys. I'm going to give away 2 to individuals that subscribe and turn on our notifications on this channel, and I'm going to give the other 2 to a subscriber that follows me on Twitter or Instagram. Whether you're an old subscriber or a new subscriber, if you sub and hit that notification bell, you have entered for a chance to win a PlayStation 5. If you want additional entries, again, follow me on Instagram and Twitter. And I want to give a shout out to our latest Mike Mafia soldier, Alan Nadu. Now that we got all that out of the way, cue the intro.
Hey, Brad, Scott was telling us about, this continued struggle seemingly in the second quarter. What do you think if you can pinpoint the issues there?
First, praise my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I'm sorry. Honestly, I don't know. We all know it's our defense. But I don't know why it's our defense. At this point, man, we can't guard a parked car.
Chase.
Mic check 1 2 1 2. One of the most disappointing teams in this extremely young NBA season thus far has to be without a doubt the Washington Wizards, a team that was so hyped up and loaded with promise after stealing a player like Deni Avdija with the 9th pick in the NBA draft, a player that I presume to be the number 3 overall pick in this year's NBA draft, after being able to trade their franchise cornerstone, John Wall, who was coming off of an injury that typically cripples superstar players and saps them of their talent and athleticism, for a fully healthy, extremely motivated player like Russell Westbrook, reuniting him with his former head coach from the early stages of his career. Many of us thought that the Washington Wizards were going to be at least extremely competitive and significantly better than they were last year. But somehow, some way, despite adding another all-star caliber player, despite drafting very well and navigating their offseason remarkably, they are at the bottom of the entire NBA. As a matter of fact, at the time of this video, the Washington Wizards have only won one more game than the worst team in the entire NBA, and that's the Detroit Pistons. And we've made videos on this in the past, what's going on, and Bradley Beal even said it himself, it's their defense. Now, there are a ton of rumors that typically fly around during the duration of the NBA season, and since the NBA trade deadline is a mere 2 months away, we have to discuss pieces that could potentially get moved. This is a rumor that I've heard before. This is a rumor we heard in the summer, and this is a rumor that makes a lot of sense. And typically when a rumor checks off all those boxes, then you get a situation like the video I made 3 months ago where I stated James Harden is about to get traded, And although there was a video of a Philadelphia 76ers jersey on it at the time, which by the way, he was extremely close to getting traded to the Philadelphia 76ers, this is a logical, feasible rumor that does have some substance to it, and that's why I'm bringing it to you guys here today. If you guys remember back during the summer, there was a rumor that Bradley Beal may get traded, and it was completely squashed once he inked that contract extension for another 2 years, which kicks in after the 2021 season, which is this season, which essentially puts him in a very similar situation as James Harden was, although I think he has 1 year less on his contract than James Harden did, in the sense that he is an extremely remarkable player that is a fantastic offensive weapon that isn't necessarily known for his defense that could really aid a championship team. Meanwhile, you have a team such as the Miami Heat, who at first were very interested in Bradley Beal in the summertime, but this is after they were coming off of a NBA championship appearance. And typically when that happens, you don't see a team trying to dismantle their championship core. If Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Duncan Robinson were able to get all the way through the East to meet the Lakers in the NBA Finals, then you aren't going to want to trade any one of those players in the offseason for a well-established all-star like Bradley Beal. But unfortunately for the Miami Heat, they also got off to a very bad start, winning only one more game than the Washington Wizards have this entire season and going 4-6 to be 10th place in the Eastern Conference. Now, I want to make something very clear. It's still really early in the season. The sample size of 10 to 11 games might be more than enough that a general manager may need to see in order to feel confident in his ability to make moves. I will always make a point that the Miami Heat went all the way to the NBA Finals to meet the Los Angeles Lakers, and a lot of their roster is significantly younger than the Lakers. You have a rookie at the time in Tyler Hero. You have a player that was starting to play extremely meaningful minutes in Duncan Robinson. And you have a player that's still within the first 5 years of his career in Bam Adebayo, being led by players like Goran Dragic and Jimmy Butler. So yeah, fatigue is going to definitely kick in if you're just 72 days removed from competing in quite possibly the most meaningful games of your life to just starting over a brand new season. And I'm going to always give the Miami Heat that. But that doesn't take away from this rumor that the Miami Heat are extremely interested in Bradley Beal. Now, if you take a look at this rumor, it is very consistent with old rumors that I told you guys about in the past that had to do with the Miami Heat and Bradley Beal. You combine that with the fact that the Miami Heat were actually interested in James Harden as well, and it doesn't take a genius to know that the Miami Heat want to make a huge trade in the next upcoming months. So I'm going to take you through this rumor, and it's very consistent with the old rumors that we heard. The Miami Heat want Bradley Beal, but if Washington insists on Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, and Precious Achiuwa in addition to draft picks, that might be a little bit too much for the Miami Heat to make a move for Bradley Beal. I think this is all going to come down to which team holds the most leverage. You see, Bradley Beal isn't pulling a James Harden. He's not showing up to games overweight. He isn't being completely toxic in practice. He isn't missing training camp to go to strip clubs. He's just business as usual, and he's a little mopey because his team is losing. This gives the Washington Wizards leverage. There's no desperation to move Bradley Beal so far. And whenever he was asked this past offseason, he said he's very happy in Washington, which is why he was inked to a contract extension. However, if I'm the Washington Wizards, I have to stop and ponder for a second. While I do understand that it is still extremely early in the NBA season, they are more likely contenders for Cade Cunningham than contenders for the NBA championship. They have some pretty good young pieces in Deni Avdija and Rui Hachimura, and they should be focusing on their development. Adding some more young players while trading away quite possibly your worst defensive player, statistically speaking, which I don't typically like going based off of defensive analytics, but defensive analytics don't favor Bradley Beal for his career. As a matter of fact, if you look at his defensive box plus minus, it's not pretty at all. Then I believe a potential trade between the Miami Heat and the Washington Wizards just makes too much sense for it not to happen. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think about this situation? Should the Washington Wizards pounce on a potential trade, especially because they're in talks with the Miami Heat in regards to a trade with Bradley Beal. Should the Miami Heat give their young core some more time to figure it out, or do you think they've seen enough and it's time for them to bring in a player such as Bradley Beal's caliber? I'd like to hear your opinion in the comment section down below. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.